anybody want to be addressed? Want to be recognized? Okay. And we'll go through all the presentations.
Yep. Common Core statement?
Want to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Baker. Stand here, and I'm going to give an oral report today. I do have a written copy. But I was asked to present on the Common Core, and in particular what actions the district has taken to support the implementation of the Common Core. So my comments are really put into three categories. First category are actions that the district took to recommend curriculum and to support the curriculum, support the teachers in that curriculum. The second category is adjustments that we've made along the way. And the third one is advocacy that's been done to this point. So starting with the recommendations and supporting curriculum, just wanted to be noted that recommendations for curriculum and curriculum materials are collaboratively generated. We use something called the curriculum cycle process, which calls for a team of educators, including teachers at every grade level, special education teachers, AIS teachers, and administrators, to study in depth one curriculum area per year. The committee examines the professional literature and develops a document called Elements of an Exemplary Program. That document is then converted into a rubric by which to measure our existing curriculum and all considered materials and programs. Starting way back in May of 2009, the math committee recommended a program and then put that recommendation on hold because the program was not aligned to the proposed Common Core state standards. In the following year, in May 2011, the committee continued to review programs and recommended in May of 2011 the Envision Math program. The district implemented that program over a 2-year period in order to better support teachers' professional development. We focused on primary grades the first year, intermediate grades the second year. The district then conducted training and professional development during the summer and throughout the following year. Over the past 2 years of summer, the district has approved over 800 days of summer training for teachers. Much of that work is focused on developing materials and understanding of the Common Core. Throughout the year, we met with teachers at every grade level to review the elements of the program, such as integrating the materials and developing pacing guides. In 2011, we began similar work with another curriculum cycle committee to review reading programs to replace open court. In a unique approach, the committee collaboratively read a guiding work on selecting a core reading program. This work involved a close examination of several of the top reading programs. In 2011-12, we conducted several awareness trainings for staff. These ranged from whole group superintendent's conference days on understanding the 6 shifts of instruction in ELA math to small group sessions focusing on close reading strategies. In 2011, we developed our own online course using free software. The course was called Getting to the Core of the New ELA Standards. The district, in collaboration with the NHTA and the New Hartford Administrators Association, negotiated an APPR plan with the core belief of reducing or not creating additional tests and using historical data for APPR purposes whenever possible. We began a VIP model of tiered levels of expertise in Common Core literacy. Participating teachers engaged in deeper study, lesson study protocol, peer observations, and we developed and taped exemplary lessons featuring New Hartford teachers. We created a YouTube channel exclusively for New Hartford teachers featuring these exemplar videos. 3 New Hartford teachers were designated as Common Core ambassadors, receiving specialized training from the state of New York. Since then, our elementary representatives have not continued to participate as the work has focused on the modules, and the district has selected not to use the modules in our elementary classrooms. Our one remaining ambassador is involved in secondary English. The district scheduled regular professional development or professional learning team meetings. They were formerly called flip-flop meetings. These half-day meetings are grade-specific, with all district teachers invited to monitor the implementation plan, to listen to the concerns of teachers, to share ideas, and provide guidance and direction. These teams meet 3 to 4 times per year, and from these meetings, mid-course adjustments have been made. Examples include shortening tests, adjusting answer keys, scoring protocols, and reducing curriculum by eliminating or shortening units. In the spring of 2012, we developed and implemented additional online courses to promote a deeper understanding of close reading. This included sessions on choosing an appropriate text and evidence-based questioning techniques. In the spring of 2012, we responded to parent concerns and developed a parent information night focused on the 6 shifts of Common Core math. More than 125 parents attended over a 2-day period. In April 2012, the Curriculum Cycle Committee overwhelmingly recommended the Journeys Core Reading Program for grades K-5. Again, we utilized that same 2-year phase-in model, K-2 last year and K-3-5 for this year. The committee also recommended that grade 6 follow a middle school model of reading instruction. During the implementation of the new program, the district has worked directly with our vendors to work directly with teachers to help promote and understand the program's features. In September of 2012, the opening day Superintendent's Conference Day was dedicated to a Common Core update and an introduction to the Hartford framework of teaching. In the fall of 2012, we began to offer professional development opportunities on building math background for teachers. In the fall of 2012, we conducted additional professional learning team meetings to receive input from teachers. In the fall of 2012, we partnered with Doug Lamoff to provide professional development and teach like a champion techniques with specific strategies to support high expectations in classrooms. In the fall of 2013, the district added staffing to provide math intervention services to elementary students. The district partnered with math expert Bill Davidson to provide training in understanding Common Core math for all elementary teachers. The Hartford teachers, some of our teachers are working with regional efforts and regional teams to support teachers, particularly in grade 6 ELA, using the Brain Honey learning management system. Other teachers in middle school are involved with regional efforts to implement middle school math. The district provided training for all teachers on the promising work of Mindset by Stanford Professor Carol Dweck. The Hartford Teacher Center followed up by applying for and receiving a grant to conduct a book study around mindset. So those are some of our actions. Moving on to the second category, which is adjustments, to show that we made adjustments along the way as we've been monitoring this implementation. So in the spring of 2013, we made it a mid-year adjustment in order to pilot a unit from the recently published state curriculum modules in grades 3 through 5 in ELA. This pilot featured literature such as Peter Pan and the Lightning Thief. From this pilot, from the feedback from the pilot, the teachers reaffirmed our recommendation to implement Journeys and not implement state modules in most of our elementary grade levels. In the junior high school, English teachers taught one state module and are now adopting locally developed curriculum toward the Common Core standards. In response to concerns of algebra teachers, the district made an early course correction to focus on the 2005 algebra standards and require students to sit for both the required Common Core assessment and the traditional Regents exam in hopes of increasing their level of passing rate. In response to concerns regarding the pacing of instruction, the district adjusted the reading curriculum in grades 3 through 6 by eliminating a unit of instruction, providing more time for instruction on the remaining units. We also made the following adjustments to Journeys. We've eliminated tests for every 5th lesson. We've reduced the length of tests in the primary grades. We reduced the number of stories for a unit and a benchmark test in grades 3 through 5. We are currently exploring additional ways to further reduce testing without compromising the necessary feedback on student performance and progress. 6th grade teachers have dropped an ELA module to allow for graders got to study. Advocacy. You know, this is really on the administrative advocacy. So as early as 2009, we expressed concerns about the state's Regents for Rome agenda, including the aggressive implementation plan. Our concerns were expressed at regional meetings, and online feedback, and personal communication with state education officials. Specific concerns focused on double testing for middle school accelerated math students, students with disabilities, the length of assessment for third grade students, the lack of curriculum materials, the lack of time for training and professional development, and the anticipated decline in students achieving proficiency. All that was communicated early on to the state. Recent advocacy is focused on concerns with graduation requirements tied to Common Core assessments for students without the appropriate opportunity to participate in Common Core curriculum. Staffing and Curriculum Committee reviewed and considered NICET resolution. The Staffing and Curriculum Committee reviewed and considered recommendations to the New York State Council of School Superintendents. And we further considered those prior to this meeting. So to sum, here's a summary. The district decisions about Common Core curriculum have been conducted using a time-honored approach, featuring an in-depth study and full involvement of teachers at every grade level. The district has approved a variety of curriculum materials and has not relied upon state modules to guide instruction in our classrooms. The district continues to support our priorities for providing a guaranteed curriculum, teaching for understanding using a common language of instruction, a shared responsibility for literacy, support for all learners, and using data to inform instruction. The district has provided specific job-embedded professional development to create awareness and promote expertise in the new curriculum. We have worked hard to expand access to professional development and including online 24/7 access to that professional development, and also to focus on a tiered support approach to support varying levels of expertise. The district has systems in place to receive continuous input from teachers, and we make adjustments in response to that input. Question?
Yeah, I've got one, Vince, these adjustments in the testing to take some of the stress off the teachers and the students, is that helping?
But the teachers, they're here. You
It's
guys.
not hurting, it's definitely not hurting.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the tests are still rigorous and they're still lengthy. But knowing that, you know, like the end of that fifth story, you don't have to take the story test and then a unit test the next day, which is, you know, measuring the same skills. That's one less long test that kids have to take. It's welcome. It's a welcome change.
And we have other plans we're looking at. I think we also like to work with the vendors as well. It's hard to tamper with tests because we're not professional test writers. You know, there's a definite science to writing a test. So we're careful not to tinker too much. We have some plans for further reduction of testing.
Because that seems to be the big complaint.
It is a big
over testing.
You hear about it. We made some adjustments and have plans for additional testing.
No, I think that's excellent. I think that's very, you know, I listen to that and I'm involved, but that we've been really trying to do our best, you know, to try to help everyone, students, the teachers, you know, everyone. And I think that it's something that, you know, I would like the parents to be able to hear that. I would like to say that if we could load that on the website. And
Our plan is to put something like that on the website early in the time prior to putting it on.
Okay. Good.
And I would be benefits for that comprehensive report.
Excellent.
Also, you know, the Board of Education, since Condro is supposed to meet something either on the board agenda or staff. And I 10 dates here to discuss how.
I guess my question or comment is, despite all of that, it's still not working. Despite all of that, we still have problems. We still have opting out. We still have the referendum by our teachers union that we heard last meeting. And despite all the resources of New Hartford, the Common Core standards does not seem to be healthy for our students. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing from everybody?
Yeah.
It's from the concern, the people who are against what's going on for the reform agenda, yeah. You know, when are you talking about the task force and the people who are concerned
So,
about
well,
that?
I mean, we heard the referendum from the teachers
Yeah,
union.
oh, yeah, well.
So, despite our best efforts.
But not, it's not a criticism, I think, of how much our district supports
No, I
us
understand.
or supports our students. It's
Yeah.
more, it is a criticism of the actual agenda, the
Right.
Common Core, the implementation, and the failure for Commissioner King to actually acknowledge and, you know, say, hey, maybe we need to take a look at some of these things. Because the concern is not just in Hartford, it's widespread.
I understand. I just
Right,
can't.
but I don't think the
I just
concern
can't.
is school-wide. I think there's certain, you know, everyone doesn't have concerns. I hear lots of people that their kids are doing fine with the Common Core. So, I mean, I think there legitimately,
Right.
there are some concerns, but it's not school-wide.
No, I was talking specifically for the task force and the people who are concerned. I do think that, but when we're talking what the NHTA decided and what we voted on, what was voted and approved, as far as calling for some of those, you know, the halt to the over-testing and, you know, if Commissioner King is not receptive, then, you know, calling for suspension. But, so that's what I was speaking to. I wasn't saying that all of the Hartford is concerned. I've heard people who are not as concerned, but, you know, if their kid is doing well, they tend to not be as concerned because they're not seeing the same thing that somebody who maybe is having some of those struggles at home. So I think that, you know, you have different feedback. And I've heard some people in some districts are happy with the modules. When we looked at them, we're like, you know, and maybe at different levels for different grades, they seem different. Maybe for some people it's a step up in our curriculum, but for what we had already been doing, you know, like Vince, prior to it being rolled out, he had already been working with the teachers to develop things, you know, implement Common Core strategies, or strategies that would help us achieve the Common Core standards that had already been put into our curriculum. So for us, we were looking at, this is a mess, and what we had was working for us, and our district was successful prior to. So I think, you know, the district had already been doing everything. You know, trying to get ahead of, we've always tried to get ahead of what was coming down. So that we put other places and did not have the same concern. But we were already good.
It's not to put words in its mouth, but it's also a meeting, and I think it's similar, and I think maybe part of the point that he was trying to make is that, you know, here in Hartford, where we've had the advantages of getting in front of individual specs and really incredible sets of teachers, and, you know, we've been invested in administration. We've had challenges, so we know that globally, but across the board in the United States, certainly, there are issues with the Common Core, and specifically its implementation, testing, and different things you mentioned, that remain an issue. In spite of, if New Hartford still has concerns about it, then clearly other schools who do not have the advantages that we had are having bigger problems. And I think that, and of course, we know that.
No, that's
We
true.
just want to go on record and say that we hear that, you know, we understand what you're saying. And you're right, I mean, you could be talking about Common Core or vanilla ice cream. Some people are gonna think it's awesome, some people are gonna think it's terrible. And then there's a bunch of people in the middle rolling right in. But, you know, just, I think we want, I certainly appreciate everything that we've done in Hartford to get in front of what seems like a loss in many respects. And do the best that we can for our staff and for our students. But we certainly acknowledge that there are just inherent flaws in the implementation and a lot of aspects.
Vince, I know you've been doing some monitoring, and I'm not sure if it's at the primary level or not. Are you seeing us making progress? As far as academics go?
Absolutely.
The end game is that this Common Core standard is to enhance critical skill thinking. Is that happening, and will we see results down the road?
It is definitely happening. I'm amazed at what goes on in the classroom in a pleasant way. I've been in kindergarten through 12th grade classrooms, and one of the things I've seen is a real emphasis on close reading of text and using text evidence to support claims. Students are being very comfortable now with in some cases, it's the second and third year that they've gone through that. they are understanding the language of the core, they're understanding what's being accepted of them, and they are rising to those challenges. And in math as well, it is a very challenging, rigorous curriculum, and students are, they are getting it. Many students are being successful, and they're working hard, and they're making the changes that are necessary for that. And I hear teachers continually say that they're amazed at what they know. And you know, particularly, I think the strength is the students that started early. And I think it's this year's second graders that have known nothing but Common Core math instruction. And they're much more comfortable with it. The challenges clearly are in as they get older, where you know, for an 8th grade student in that algebra, for example, was just did not have that background with that language and that understanding, and that in my view is unfair to expect them to do that. But in all of our classrooms, I think you are seeing teachers and students meeting those challenges, and there are good things that are happening, without a doubt.
So would it be fair to say that if it was 8 years older, then it would be transparent?
Well, I certainly think that the more teachers and students work with those standards, the more familiar they are with them, the more practice that they'll get, the more instruction and intervention, the more success they get.
And one last question, I just wanted to, we keep talking about testing. Is our district getting more tests than we did 3 or 4 years ago? Or are we, is it an astronomical amount of more testing? Or what is the belief about the testing? Because I've heard that we're not testing anymore than we used to.
Well, there's a couple of things. So I'll separate secondary from elementary. Right? And in the secondary grades, I would say that we're probably testing about the same that we've always had, because the Common Core has not had as great of an impact on high school courses, for example, and we have not adopted any new programs that would require additional testing. On the state level, always, for many years, we've had to test every student in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math, and then you have to do a science test, and you have to do some of those things. The length of those tests have increased from the state level, not the number of tests that students have to take, but the length of the tests have increased. As far as locally, the Envision and Journeys program does have more tests than the previous programs had. So there is more local testing. We have done far less testing than many of our neighboring districts because of our APPR plan. We really work very hard not to create additional tests in order to meet APPR guidelines, but to use historical data whenever we can. So I think that's a long-winded answer saying, yes, I think we are testing more, but we've made an effort to try to reduce the amount of testing that's done. And, sometimes when you hear critics of the Common Core talk about an opposition to a lot of testing, in many of those school districts, they're seeing far greater tests because of their APPR plan that calls for a pre-test and a post-test, and in addition to all the other tests that are there.
Finish the test, finish up.
Just one thing, so had Common Core not come into being, when we went through our curriculum cycle and we used Journey and our new math
Right.
program, the very essence that we adopted these 2 new entities,
Right.
regardless of Common Core, we would have had additional testing anyway.
Likely. And I don't have a quantity. If you want me, I could
No.
come back and tell you how many more. It's not like we certainly were testing frequently in Scott Forsman math and open court. We had unit tests and benchmark tests, and so we had that. I think the tests now are more rigorous, and in many cases they were longer. I think that's probably the biggest concern, is that a test in open court may have taken students a half an hour, and now it'll take them at least double that to kind of finish all that testing. And teachers have worked on strategies to spread that out over multiple days, so they're not giving all the assessment data. But we're working with our vendors to try to address some of those concerns.
And SAP is not testing, which again.
The
is
State
just
Education
a-
Department has not created any additional testing I'm aware of. No. they've actually, at the Regents level, they reduced their English Regents from 2 days to 1 day, so, you know.
Is it fair to say that the test before and the tests now are apples to oranges? Because the tests they've taken prior years were based on everything that was relative to them that they learned. Let's take a sixth grade student from second to third to fourth to fifth to sixth. That's what that test was all relevant on. Now we're giving them a test, again, in sixth grade on a module that's brand new to them for 1 year. So even though the test is a test, I think that the significance of the test based on the relevance of what's being taught prior for that test doesn't, I don't think you can just compare, well, you tested for 2 hours 3 years ago, so you're testing for 2 hours this year, so a test is a test. I just think it's different.
But I guess I don't know what you're saying. If you're in seventh grade or eighth grade, and you're taking earth science, you're just getting tested on what you learned that year.
I was talking about sixth grade.
Yeah, okay. So sixth grade, you're saying that it's just, you're
It's
just being.
based on everything you learned, second, third, fourth, fifth.
If you're talking about the state tests are based on the standards, so they're not based on the module. So, an example, the sixth grade are reading Bud Not Buddy, they're reading certain books and they're going through certain activities. Those will not be on the state test. What will be on the state test are the skills that are required in the standards. And those skills might be to be able to read a nonfiction piece on a cold read and be able to really get the nuance of that comprehension and make some inferences and talk about author's craft and talk about point of view, and you know, they're being tested on that, on material that they've never had. I mean, that's one of the keynotes of the state test is that they're given passages that are not in the curriculum. They're being tested, those are skills tests in English.
And do you think that, going to Paul's point, do you think that the tests that are given to these sixth graders, the test makers, knowing that the sixth graders have not had the background in first, second, third, do you think they're different than the tests that maybe in 5 years the sixth graders will get because they're going to have had all that background? Do you think they take that lack
Will
of
the
background?
test be different, or will the student performance be different?
Well, the student
Yeah.
performance, I'm sure, would be better.
Yeah. When the state makes tests, they try to anchor them, which in their parlance means this year's test is equivalent in rigor and difficulty to last year's test and next year's test. They try to make it so that it's consistent across the board, so that you can measure progress. So to that end, the rigor of the test should not change. And the logic that as students receive more instruction in the new standards, they'll be better able to meet those challenges. I think certainly we've all dealt with an alarming drop in proficiency, which certainly caused a lot of angst among everybody in the school community. And I think it's our hope that
Right.
those proficiency rates will increase as students get more proficient.
You know, one more thing, the drop in proficiency is directly correlated to a drop in confidence in their students. Something's changing in testing, because I've heard many more parents complain about the anxiety levels of their children based on testing, about breakdowns and crying episodes, than I have heard of good things. As a matter of fact, I heard a woman speak at a meeting the other night whose kids were doing great with the new standards, and yet she was there for everybody else because she understood what was really going on with her kids' friends and those kinds of things. So I mean, I hope that we're paying attention to the kids that are there now, as Paul indicates. They're being thrown something brand new, and yeah, they'll be better, you know, in 3 or 4 years. But right now, the amount of pressure, I believe, is borderline abuse in many cases of what we're expecting these kids to do.
You know, we hear a lot of the stress on the students and parents and teachers. And I'm going to compliment Mr. Knoll and Vince. There's got to be a tremendous amount of stress on all the administrators, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of trying to get through this. They're doing a great job.
Teachers.
And the teachers with a lot of additional requirements placed on.
And I would hope that our social work community encouraging things that you're saying, that at the primary level, we're seeing progress as it, you know, as that's a little bit of hope that somewhere down the road that gap shrinks. Right now, we all know there's a gap. There's no doubt about it that six, seven, eight.
Yeah, I think I've heard from virtually all the teachers that this year is better than last year, and in part because the students are coming to them more familiar with what's expected. And even at the intermediate grades where the challenge is the greatest. And certainly at the primary, you know, you hear third grade teachers talking about how well prepared students are coming to extension.
So Vince, listen, we talked to a lot of boards, you know, around these meetings, stuff like that, and we talked to teachers and everything else, and again, Jim, you know, what Hartford has done through the administration, through you, through the teachers, is to do everything absolutely possible within the realm of resources to do it, to make this implementation as painless as possible. And we can't thank the teachers enough for putting up with it throughout the whole year. And you too, administration.
Thank you, and we will continue our Common Core discussion. Well, Bob just said this is like our 10 thing. We'll continue to get outreach on how progress is being made. Thank you, guys. Second item on the visitor and delegations is our assistant superintendent for instruction. Okay, transition plan update, Mr. Hyde.
I want to thank Mrs. Luther for the invitation tonight, and also to thank the board for the opportunity to update you on my transition plan. The version of the transition plan that you have in front of you was the previous one that you had seen over the summer, and I've done some updates to that, and I'm going to highlight the updates that I've done. First of all, I just want to say thank you again to the board for this opportunity and for all of the support with the transition. I also want to send a thank you to Mr. Condro for meeting with me. He meets with me weekly to work on the transition. You know, I'm learning a lot about his role, and so I know that in the end that will really create a seamless transition with me going into the assistant superintendency. I also want to thank Mr. Knoll. I meet with him every other week to talk about items and to learn about central office and the responsibilities that I will be taking on. As I developed my plan, what I did was I used the mission statement and the vision statement for the district, as well as the ISLIT standards, which are professional standards for administrators. I used that as a focal point, and you'll notice what I did was for each one of the standards, I put actions to meet those standards, and then on the very last page, and I'll get to that in a little bit, I put some additional items that I've done over the past few months, and those are some of the ones that I really want to highlight with you. What I'd like to start out with is the diagram I have on page 4. Listen, assess, and plan, followed by act, with student achievement at the center of that. What I did with this, I finished the superintendent development program in November. And as part of that plan, I had to work on as if I was applying for a superintendency with a district. And so through that research, what I did was I came up with this little model of continuous improvement. And currently I see myself in the listen, and if I could add another word there, would be learn. So listen and learn about the assistant superintendency, followed by assessing or reviewing. And then as I continue to move into the position, planning and acting, with all of that focusing on student achievement and the excellence that New Hartford has enjoyed. So these are the key features as I transition into the assistant superintendent. On standard 1 on the following page, I did do a few updates on that from what I had previously shared with you. And one of the items that Mr. Condro and I spoke about was the opportunity to attend the faculty meetings in May. And that would give an opportunity for me to meet the staff that I haven't met and to introduce myself as the new assistant superintendent. And then followed by that in the fall, attending the meetings again to lay out our plan for the school year and our plan of action for student excellence. Standard 1 also does focus on a vision of learning, which as the assistant superintendent, it's my role obviously to work with the entire school community and to develop and to articulate that vision for learning. And you'll see many of the actions that are listed there are indeed just that, helping to maintain and to articulate the vision for learning. Standard 2, this one is about obviously sustaining a school culture and instructional program conducive to student learning and professional growth. And you'll see many activities under there are ongoing. I'm doing those on a regular basis, whether it be with Vince, Mr. Knoll, or Mrs. Danville. Standard 3 on the following page. Obviously, the overarching goal here is to ensure knowledge of learning, teaching, and student development, to make certain that's used to inform and to make decisions for the district. And here's where, involving teachers, involving other three principals, as a team, it's collaborative and working toward a common goal of increased student achievement. Standard 4, 5, and 6 are on the last page. Standard 4, being highly visible and active in the school community, and you'll see under there collaborating with community members, responding to diverse community interests and needs, and mobilizing community resources. Standard 5, acting with integrity, fairness, in an ethical manner. Obviously there I have the code of conduct, reviewing the shared decision-making procedures, becoming familiar with the personnel records, and review school board policies and administrative regulations. And the last standard, Standard 6, understanding, responding to, and influencing the political, social, legal, and cultural context. And you'll see I have the items listed that are helping to support that standard. On the last page, many of these items I have completed since July. So I've had the opportunity, obviously I completed, as I said, the Superintendent Development Program, which gave you some really good insight into the roles and responsibilities of central office. So it was a great opportunity to participate in that year-long program, to partake in looking at and developing plans and actions. Attending the Board of Education meetings, I've been doing that since fall. The opportunity to see what your role is, and what your responsibilities are, and to be able to be at the board meetings. Continuing to gain insight into policies and the regulations as they relate to curriculum, but also as they relate to personnel and hiring practices. And on down you'll see leaves of absences and understanding how they work and how the bid meetings work for the teachers, and gaining a lot of insight into that. Again, Mr. Condro has been instrumental in helping me with that and helping me to understand that process. Opening day, understanding how when you're creating your opening day, how it sets the tone for the school year. Vince and I and Mr. Knoll are already working diligently to plan the opening day for September, and we're well on our way with that, and I'm confident that it's going to be a successful day for the teachers, and obviously for the students and administrators. Participate in recruiting and hiring of school personnel. Obviously, we're hiring a replacement for myself and Hughes, so Vince is working with me on that, and Mr. Knoll. And again, we are going through that process, and it's a nice process to go through for me, so I can see the ins and outs of that and how it's done and the systematic manner in which that is done. The tenure recommendations and master teacher recommendations, certainly as a principal, I've had the opportunity to write those and present them. Now I'm looking at that through, Mr. Condro's eyes and how he handles those and how he processes those through the district office, obviously to go on to the Board of Education. The New Hartford Teachers Association contract, again, understanding the contract, understanding the legal side of that and the implications for teachers as well as, students and the impact on students and just understanding that and following that. And Vince, again, has been really helpful with that. The APPR process, including revisions to our current plan. I know Vince and I right now are looking at those, updating that. I believe they're due March 1st. The revised plans, the APPR committee has worked on those plans and has made some recommendations. And so Vince and I will work together to make those changes with the state education department. Working on the principal's rubric as well. Obviously, I've had the opportunity as a principal to be evaluated. And in the new role, of course, I will evaluate the principals, so understanding that rubric and understanding and communicating that with the principals. Vince has worked, again, at length with me about, with the New York State Education website, specifically on the side of reporting data. That's not something that I currently do as a building principal, so Vince has worked with me on that to show me the sites, and he has many of those already bookmarked, so that I will know where to go to report that, and then I'll know also where to keep up on the changes that come through the website as well as Engage New York. The curriculum alignment process, I had the opportunity last summer to participate in that. So again, I have a good understanding of how that's developed and how that's executed across the district. Attending department chair meetings at the high school with the pre-scheduling and with the budget planning. I've attended those meetings. Last evening, we had a department chair meeting that Vince ran, and I was able to attend that as well. And I will continue to do that for the remainder of the year. Vince has shared his files with me as far as his electronic files and everything that he has. So from the historical side, I'll be able to see what was done over the past, 10, 15 years with Vince, and then where everything is so that I'll have access to that information. The region's testing schedule, Vince and I talked at length about that and the development of that, and certainly I will continue to gain new insight into the region's testing schedule at the high school. The new teacher induction program, which Tina and Sandy run through the Teacher Center. Again, I've been involved in meeting with them, learning about the new teacher induction program and attending the meetings with Tina and Sandy. And I've worked with Mrs. Mandel, obviously, on the budget process. I know that as a building principal, what my responsibilities are, but also now learning from Vince's perspective what he does with Mary and what he does with Mr. Knoll as far as working on the budget, creating the budget, and following that, obviously. Infinite Campus, when I came to New Hartford, was new to me, so I've spent a lot of time over the past year and a half to 2 years learning Infinite Campus, and now I'm working on learning the scheduling side of that, the grading, and like printing reports, for example, like a projected enrollment report, and learning all of that information. The science curriculum cycle, because I chair that as principal of Hughes, it has given me some good insight into how that curriculum cycle works. So I worked with Vince on that as well. Hiring of a new principal, I spoke of, and then the course offerings at the high school, obviously through staffing and curriculum. I've been able to witness that process, how new courses are recommended, and then eventually come to the board final approval. Also, in October, I attended the New York State Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics Conference that was hosted, and it was by Project Lead the Way. And I know one of the new courses that we're offering is a Project Lead the Way course. So I had the opportunity to learn about that as well and interacted. I happened to make some contacts with some other assistant superintendents there that I've been able to stay in contact with. So I will continue to network. I will continue to help this be a seamless transition and reach out to everybody in the school community. And again, I just want to say thank you to the people who are helping me and standing with me, and obviously the board has been very supportive. And I want to say thank you, and I look forward to the opportunity.
Alan, just a comment. I think this is all terrific, and you must be sleeping here. But are you going to do anything additional, because your background is elementary, to get more knowledge about up high school and junior high,
Yes.
operators and block scheduling, and just all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. One of the nice things is that I did, in my former job, I was the assistant principal at the middle school for a year. I did my internship there, and it was a full-time internship. And through that, I was able to get some really good insight into scheduling and course offerings. And now Vince is helping me gain additional insight into that. And certainly I will reach out to Dr. Spring on that. And I know she'll really be supportive and have some good insight for me as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We also attend PTA council meetings and so he really works himself into the position. And when we appointed him, I received a couple of calls from students' parents ensuring that he will attend to his duties there, and he's doing that as well inside the church. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Vince and Bob, and everybody else involved in the transition. Really, really all Alan. Okay, item 4, approval of minutes. Regular meeting minutes of 1:14:14.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, number G, G, coaches, spring 2014. The penultimate paragraph there. I believe that it was Ms. Luker, it may not have been, moved that the list of coaches be approved, the exception of the boys JV lacrosse coach. It's not, but I believe it was Ms. Luker that moved that. And then the vote is inaccurate.
I'm sorry, I have my notes right here in front of me.
Yeah.
From that night, and Mr. Stevens moved, Mr. Petrowski seconded, and the vote is accurate. And it is, the motion failed because it was not a majority of the total board. In order for that to pass with that vote, it would have been 4 ayes. There would have been a motion of a motion is based on the whole board when they vote. Regardless if there were 6 people here, we're basing it on 7. So that means that night that motion failed because there was 3 ayes, a nay, and 2 abstentions. And I verified this because I was aware of the question, and I verified this information, and I also found out from the state editor that that's the way both votes majority.
Okay, I still believe it was 2, 2, and 2, and I'm gonna have to get the videotape to take a look at it, but I still believe it was 2, 2, and 2, because I know I voted no, and Ms. Luker voted no for one of the motions.
She did. I don't have that. And
So which motion did she vote for?
she
No.
voted for the second motion.
No. Second motion was voted no by me and Mr. Stevens.
Right, I have that. She did not vote no.
She did.
I verified these before I even put the minutes out with school board members, because I wanted to make sure because of all the confusion.
You didn't verify mine, and I'm telling you that
And-
I will get the videotape, and
Excuse me, but I looked at the videotape today.
Ms. Luker voted no for the first motion.
I looked at the videotape today, and from what I can hear, the vote is the way I have it in the notes. If
Okay.
you find it differently, please let me know and I will have to change it.
Oh, you voted no.
I honestly, I don't remember, but let's look at the video, if we have it on tape, certainly we'll amend it.
I was glad you meant it because I'm not saying that because there was so much going on that night. I would second guess myself as well.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't respond because I couldn't remember my vote. I know I was talking, the motion went up, and I was also talking about introducing Vince's recommendation for your statement that we single that one person out pending.
I remember specifically that you voted no because you were gonna bring up the next motion, which you did.
The motions are correct, as far as failed, both of those are correct. So
Right,
that's
there's
what
no
we-
impact to, right, there's no
we just-
impact.
We know the
Okay.
votes, okay, so at least it'll be corrected that way, correct that way, if there is a change after we
Right.
can amend.
Because I have nowhere in my notes.
Right, there is no impact on the outcome of the decision, but I respect that, and I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. I know that we were talking about Drew, motion and everything.
Okay.
So pending, the motion on the floor right now is will we accept the 124-14, or, sorry, 114-14 meeting, minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Okay, 4 passes, 6-1.
Please, if you would let me know by tomorrow so I can make these minutes, correct?
I will.
Thank you.
Item 5, correspondence and communications, no.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Luker. I have an email that went to the Board of Education commending one of our teachers at Perry Junior High, so I think it's street with that, and I'll mention the names. And secondly, I have, for some reason, Hartford gets Hyde when we attend professional development conferences. And I had Leonard Bus Sales just put this out a couple of weeks ago, and you can see a board member who attended the School Boards Association annual conference. I've circled in here, and you can see somebody with a shiny head there as well. And then last, from the New York State School Boards Association, I think you were in the on board, and so was Bill Stevens as well. Yeah, they focus in on a good look, and do focus in on the Hartford for some reason. And also, I have certificates here for 2 board members for the leadership development training from School Board U. And I would like to present those to John Gavan, Paul Petrowski, Homer McClay. Those are the photos that we have in the 2 board members. And please, do you have the camera there? And this will pull that out. Speech, leadership, and advocacy of the time New York State School Boards Association, presented to John You want to pull
Are we doing one at a time? Come on in.
Do one at a time or do you want? Special. Let's just step this way so I don't get the background. The coffee pot is closer a little better background. You're okay. You're good. I don't. Yeah, I'm not good. Okay. Right up here. All smiles. 1, 2, 3. Take some more. Check it. No, gotta do one more. Sorry. Okay, we'll leave that on our website. We'll also get it. Congratulations, thank you for your efforts. After you attend next year, you'll receive one.
I can't wait.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
That's something that, I did notice that in the New Hartford Talk Crier, the new manager was the article.
What's the article about where that, and now we're working on core update, so we'll work together on that.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
There was a great article in the newspaper about 3 weeks ago. 3 students, 3 boys, the St. Kenneth, they're all wrestling.
Oh, yes.
It was a really,
Yeah,
it was a really good
yeah.
article. And athletes in the article.
There was a nice article about Project Purple.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe they did a long time ago.
A lot of people may not know, but we really had a celebrity here. She was on national TV.
Oh, I saw that, she,
Yes,
somebody. Public display of affection. A lot of affection.
Yeah.
This is correct.
Anybody else have any correspondence communications? If not, item 6, board committee reports. Beth, and then you can propose to get this motion after.
If your wishes will come true, I move the voice. Our meeting was, we called the meeting to order on January 13th at noon. Mr. Gagliano presented the bus replacement proposal for 14-15. He gave us, we had a whole discussion about the bus replacement schedule, including the financial planning and state aid. Mrs. Mandel indicated the buses are on a 10 to 11 year replacement cycle. Mr. Gagliano told us that there's a big decrease in the trade-in values allowed for the higher buses, which was what, you would say like
$2,000
$2,000 for trade-in bus.
for a $130,000 bus.
You can get more for a 20-year-old Hyundai. So he was exploring alternative options for the sale of the vehicles to see if we could get a little more money for them. We're also looking into the increasing costs associated with maintaining the buses after 7 to 10 years of their life cycle. We had the operations and maintenance equipment request for the 14-15 budget. Mr. Morgan presented an analysis of the need for the building grounds equipment replacement costs, reviewed the replacement values and the associated life expectancies of the equipment. In addition, he presented an update of the department's current motor vehicle and grounds equipment inventory and condition report. They demonstrate the annual expenditure that we need to support the average blended life expectancy of 9.5 to 12.5 years for both the vehicles and the equipment. We have a lot. Mrs. Mandel, Mr. Morgan discussed with the committee the future sales, current year vehicle purchases, upgrades, and replacement equipment, including use of the retired transportation vehicles and their use for building and ground. We reviewed again the long-range facilities plan. We reviewed the Board of Education charge, the committee goals, the meeting discussions, and findings of the Facility Advisory Committee. Finding that the Facilities Advisory Committee has made during the past year regarding the long-range plan for the district. The BG&T Committee was provided updates throughout, throughout the planning process during the months of January, March, June, and October of 13, including review of the final report draft of June 2013. I made a motion, seconded by Lisa, to accept the long-range facilities plan, understanding that we need for your adoption, and then next step, we have a workshop in conjunction with the consultants that we previously retained, options for potential capital improvement projects to address the district, incorporating items from this long-range facilities plan. These options will be submitted to the board in early 2014. The meeting was adjourned at 12:55. This time, I'd like to make a motion for the Board of Education to adopt the long-range facilities plan, which, for your clarification, is essentially an internal planning document for the district as we move forward for any potential capital project.
Thank you, Jim. Second?
Second.
Lisa, all those in favor, discussion?
I hate to be negative here, but I voted no to bring it to you guys, only because I believe that anything presented to the board regarding capital projects should be needs and not wants. I respect and commend the committee for doing a great job. I feel it should have been a part of the administration's ability to come to us with their needs. I do not believe that boards have any job responsibility to have a workshop to determine what the capital projects are. I believe that is the responsibility of the administration to bring it to the board for approval and for a good grilling on why it's a need and why do the taxpayers have to pay for it. So under those conditions, I just want you guys to know that I didn't approve it then, and I'm not going to be able to approve it now under those conditions.
And just to clarify, that is in fact the next step. The administration will then take the long-range plan in conjunction with our consultants, scrutinize what we've been generously referring to as the menu of items, and come up with what they feel is priority needs for the district, and taking into consideration the various manner in which aid flows, what it would look like for our debt service. And there's a number of moving parts. So the next step would be for the administration to come to the board with essentially a number of different choices for us to consider and which way
blank during those, the extended committee that was put together. So, and, you know, driven by Andy and what the imminent needs were. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
Six, the adoption of the facility plan is 6-1. Items, any other item? Item boards? Lisa, do you want to talk about?
Am I gonna do policy?
What policy? Yeah.
You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, do policy.
The policy committee met on Thursday, January the 23rd at noon. Present at the meeting were myself, Ed Schlemmer, John Jagnon, Mr. Knoll, Paul Petrowski, Peter Albano, Kevin Bovey, a coach, Dr. Levantino, Kyle Maring, a student, Dan Pope, a coach, and Dr. Spring. The committee again reviewed the following regulation, the 6100.2, that's the interscholastic athletic regulations. Now, at the last meeting, the policy committee requested that the subcommittee of the advisory committee to review the interscholastic athletic program reconvene to discuss regulation 6100.2. Now, the committee requested that further review be taken of the section of the matrix titled Missing Practices / Competitions, stressing that more consistency should be applied. After discussion, some suggested changes were made to the wording of the matrix, and the decision was made to amend the regulation to remove the matrix from within the policy. The matrix will be kept as a separate document to be shared with the coaches, student athletes, parents, or the guardians. Now the document will also be placed on the district website under the athletics link. The revised matrix is attached to these minutes. And some minor changes were made to the regulation under the section cheerleaders. Now, with the above changes made to regulation 6100.2, it will be resubmitted to the Board of Education for a second reading at its annual meeting, which is tonight. The goal is to have the third and final reading be done by the board February the 25th. The regulation adopted and then piloted for the spring sports season. We did not discuss section 3000 because of time constraints. The meeting was adjourned at 1 p.m. and the next meeting for the policy committee will be on Wednesday, February the 12th at 12 noon.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? Okay. Next item?
Staffing and curriculum. The staffing and curriculum committee met prior to this meeting at 6:30 and to talk about the resolution that you all received a copy of via email and your packet. And we discussed the draft that Vince put together, who did a great job. And we made some changes, and the three of us feel confident with the resolution that we'll be sending to the State Ed Department and to Commissioner King. And if you all want to take a moment to review it, we made some minor changes and substitutions, then we feel ready to put it to the board to vote.
Do you guys know specifically the changes?
Yeah.
I can just tell you just briefly.
Yeah.
We just sort of changed some, the first paragraph, we said the unprecedented level of questioning and discontent. We added the word discontent. The second paragraph, whereas our Board of Education is challenged by a very aggressive and instead of unrealistic, we said difficult implementation plan. The third paragraph stayed the same. The fourth paragraph, to be consistent, we said whereas due to the late and trickling release of modules, our intermediate and junior high school teachers, to be consistent with the paragraph before. Paragraph 5, whereas the increasing call for reform comes from such groups, etc., the voices are passionate and recommend change. And so there's the word recommend there. number 1, we took out APPR, we thought we wanted to focus just on Common Core. So, it's just periods after Common Core. Number 2 stays the same. Number 3, the wording is create an advisory council comprised of teachers, administrators, and other school community members to review the Common Core state standards and its implementation plan. Number 4, we took out. Number 5, which is now number 4, stays the same. Number 6, which is now number 5, stays the same. The rest of them stay the same, and we added one more, the final one, which says provide adequate funding to meet the requirements and challenges of the Common Core standards. Pardon me? For all students, sorry. For all students. Thank you, Beth. Our recording secretary found that out. So, again, you're all okay with this?
I'd just like to thank the staff administration for all the work we've had with this. I know it's taken some time, but I think a lot of things all of us communicate to SEP and other associations.
Yeah, and again, we looked at the resolution that we received, and we felt that it was not, it didn't quite fit New Hartford, so we took that, and we took the, what was the other document, Vince? The state,
Legislative testimony of the Council of School Superintendents.
right. We took those two, and Vince's expertise, and we put together this resolution. And we all had comments, and
And I'll
everybody
bring it
had.
out to our area legislature as well.
So, can I make a motion? Sure. To accept this resolution?
I got just one question. Is this acceptable with the teaching staff?
They're not run by institutions.
It was just, it was asked to do it for the board.
Do you think it's appropriate to do so, Jim?
What?
Do you think it's appropriate to do so?
Well, if the committee thought so.
I think the committee took what the teachers had given us and looked through it, and best we could, I guess, to come up with this that would be acceptable
It
because
was
of
originally presented by the president, and she indicated that we're free to amend.
Okay.
All right.
We met with them earlier today, and same sentiment, feel free to amend, you feel fits, up for yourself.
Okay, good question.
This one over here.
Now, Lisa, if you don't mind, I just, if you clarify the motion, is the motion to accept Common Core resolution, or how would you like that worded?
What's this resolution called?
The original one said.
Well, let me see the original, I have it right here, wait, I have it right here.
I didn't know if you wanted to say accept it and so submit it to the state, I don't know how you know, if you just want to accept it, just want to make sure.
Well, again, the one that we got from them, it says adapted, NYSUT resolution. So why don't we just call it Board of Education.
Common Core of Education.
Core.
Resolution to the State Education Department's Regions Reform Agenda regarding the Common Core. Something.
Okay,
Yep. Here, this is the final, I just added the last, this is the final. Yep, that's fine.
No, the one that was, just that really changed.
Well, I think it's just the title.
Are you okay?
yeah, I'll get it, I'll confirm it with Bob.
Okay.
Now, we didn't have a actual motion.
No, we did, you're right.
Lisa
We-
moved it.
I moved it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution passes 7-0. Item 7, old business.
Madam President, PTA,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it's not on there, but.
Yeah, start.
First of all, I want to say these are my notes, they're not the official minutes of PTA Council. So there might be some discrepancies. January 27th meeting, called order at 7. Secretary Treasurer reports were accepted. Mr. Nolan, the division report, he talked about budget calendar dates. The governor stated the state budget, what it means for our Central School District. We have reduction numbers, talked about that. Told me always need help contacting legislators, told me help there. Advocate for reinstatement of grant funds, and research for the ERU's events was begun. I had no report. The Hartford Foundation mentioned that the Prince Charming Ball will be coming up. We're using a Lego theme this year. And over the past 2 years, they've raised $42,000. PTAs are asked to continue contributing to the basket raffle, the night of the ball. We talked about the brick sales, and we talked about the need for a alumni database to be established. And when they talked about that, I was thinking about the Elizabeth conference. Lisa, I believe I gave you the disc. I don't know if they could use it. I don't know if you want to see
We've
it.
been talking about this for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not with this vendor, but the foundation, or the foundation, has been talking about it for a long time. Ed, or the foundation bring that up at all? I know they've been talking about it for a long time, the foundation, to get an alumni database, so the PTA should talk about that.
Yeah, well, they do have an alumni database.
I thought the foundation last time, from last year, I remember them saying that they were contracting with somebody to compile a database that went into like a directory or something.
Yeah, they got one. Foundation, there's of people that have signed up for the foundation.
Yeah, and I.
But they were talking about the foundation, about getting a database of alums, so they should solicit them.
They got it.
He said there's a new establishment.
Yeah, okay. Maybe update it somehow. If you're a member of the foundation, then they've got your name as an alumni.
Continuing on, President's report, Mrs. Smith summarized It's Time. This was held in November. It was an inspirational, motivational themed program. It was about unity, diversity, and following your dreams and be who you are. People were impacted by the speaker, and the finale consisted of an audience participants going onto the stage to state whether they wanted to be, what they wanted to be in life, to reaffirm positive feelings about themselves. The winter conference is scheduled for tomorrow at Papa Joe's. It's a PTA regionally sponsored event, and we'll be the county for a speaker there as their guest. I will be in attendance, let it rain. Legislation and Educational Conference on March 1st and 2nd in Albany. Schools need to have their nomination committees filled out. Hearing that, we need to get the insurance forms submitted. Unfinished businesses in the art show, there was no report, there was no new business, and then each school went through their shared time. There's 5 bullets on it.
And Kim, just to add, I also had a meeting with the foundation. It was a great meeting. I didn't send any notes in. I'm all going to look at here. I'll start from there. Just do that.
Reports out.
Okay. But anyway, the dominating discussion was the Prince Charming Ball, and solicitation of donations and that kind of thing. So any help that you guys can give would be great. Just let me know if you know anybody that wants to give donations of 50 and 500, 1,000. So just shout. You know,
When is the date of that?
it's April 26th.
Is that you going?
Eddie's going, yeah, I think his third. Yeah, Lori's working nights.
Yeah, you want to take?
I would, but my gown's a little tight these days.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on that? Anything else? Okay. Item 7, old business. Then we just heard some discussion on the interscholastic athletic regulations. Does anybody have any other discussions on that? We will not vote, we'll go with
Just
third
recommend
reading.
that's presented for your second.
Oh,
And if there's any questions, if not, we'll put it on the February 25th agenda for third reading and adoption.
Item 8, new business. Personnel.
It is recommended that the retirement resignation of Deborah Baldwin from the position of special education teacher be accepted with deep regret effective July 1st, 2014.
Thank you. Second.
recommended that the retirement resignation of Catherine Schauber from the position of elementary computer technology teacher be accepted with deep regret, effective June 30th, 2014.
Motion? Move. Thank you, Lisa, second. Thank you, John. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? D passes 7-0. Item C?
It is recommended that the retirement resignation of Christine Porter from the position of social worker be accepted with deep regret, effective June 30th, 2014.
Motion? Thank you, Beth, second. Thank you, John. Discussion? I would say personally, Chris is going to stand as everybody, just so we saw that she's been in that position. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 7C passes 7-0. D?
It is recommended that the retirement resignation of Cynthia Curry from the position of special education teacher be accepted with regret, effective June 30th, 2014.
Motion? Second. Beth, Lisa, thank you. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? D passes 7-0. Item E?
It is recommended that the retirement resignation of Geraldine Smith from the position of elementary teacher be accepted with deep regret, effective June 30th, 2014.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Is that-
The resignation.
Yeah, it's a
Not a raise.
B passes 7-0. Polish.
He's never gonna show up at meeting.
F?
It is recommended that the resignation of Donna Deep from the position of co-advisor of mock trial be accepted effective January 9th, 2014.
Motion? Move. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Paul. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? F passes 7-0. Item 2, leave of absence. A, teacher assistant.
It is recommended that an unpaid leave of absence be granted to Tricia Peckham for child rearing, effective at the end of her disability period through June 30th, 2014.
Move.
Thank you. Jim and Beth. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 7-0. Reappointments? A.
It is recommended that Kevin Bird be appointed to the position of permanent substitute teacher assistant. Service shall begin on February 5th, 2014, and on June 30th, 2014, pursuant to the agreement with the collective bargaining unit. Mr. Bird is certified initially in earth science grade 7 to 12.
Motion? Moved. Thank you, Lisa, second. Thank you, Beth. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 3A passes 7-0. 8, new business appointments. B.
Substitute teacher list. It is recommended that the following be appointed to the per diem substitute teacher list. Christopher Fooley, certified in childhood education grades 1 through 6, and students with disabilities grades 1 through 6. And Hillary George, certified in English grades 7 through 12.
Motion? Beth, second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I abstain.
You abstain?
Yes. I'm abstaining, yes, I know that.
Okay.
C, we are tabling until after executive session. Item D, substitute teacher 8.
It is recommended that Elizabeth Baldwin be appointed to the position of substitute teacher aide 1, effective February 5th, 2014, pending satisfactory clearance for employment by the State Education Department.
Motion. Motion.
Second.
Paul, thank you. Ed. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? abstentions. D passes 7-0. Item E.
It is recommended that Courtney Hibbard be appointed to the position of Substitute Office Specialist 1, effective February 5th, 2014, pending satisfactory clearance for employment by the State Education Department.
Motion?
Move.
Thank you. John, second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? E passes 7-0. 4, reclassification. A.
It is recommended that Rose Delmedico be reclassified from the position of DPA Class J to the position of Cleaner Nights, effective February 5th, 2014.
Move.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 4A passes 7-0. 4B.
It is recommended that Lisa Shahood be reclassified from the position of Teacher Aide 1 to the position of DPA, effective February 5th, 2014.
Motion?
Move.
Thank you, Lisa.
Second.
Thank you, Ed. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? D passes 7-0. 8B, Committee on Preschool Special Education.
The recommendations from the Committee on Preschool Special Education's meetings of January 17th and January 24th of this year are presented for approval.
Motion?
Move.
Thank you. Paul, second?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? D passes 7-0. Item C, Committee on Special Education.
The recommendations from the Committee on Special Education's meetings of January 14th, January 24th, and January 28th of this year are presented for approval.
Motion?
Move.
Thank you, Lisa. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? C passes 7-0. Item D, 504 Committee.
The recommendations from the 504 Committee's meetings of January 14th and January 28th of this year are presented for approval.
Motion. Thank you. Second. Thank you, Paul. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? D passes 7-0. Item 9, other business.
I have 2 items for executive session pertaining to the employment history of particular persons, and I've been invited to Colonel George Fields into the executive session.
Okay.
2 items.
I would just like to reiterate to our teachers, thank you for the positive working environment and, keep chugging along on the whole Common Core issue. It's really
Don't kill yourself.
I'll be sure to refer that back to the membership.
Yeah.
While we at first were disappointed with the lack of response from the resolution, we are very happy that you have listened to our concerns and have taken a stand to help us out. Thank you so much.